Welcome to History with Herodotus, where we embark on a journey through the vast expanse of human experience, guided by the candle of curiosity and the compass of context. Today, we find ourselves at the threshold of a pivotal moment in American history, a tale of sorrow, resilience, and transformation, the Trail of Tears. This poignant narrative will transport us to the early 19th century, when the fate of thousands of Native Americans hung in the balance as the burgeoning United States government sought to expand its territory and impose its will upon the indigenous peoples. In the early days of the American Republic, the young nation was abuzz with the spirit of manifest destiny, an ideology that proclaimed the United States' divine right to stretch its borders from sea to shining sea. As the country pushed westward, it encountered numerous Native American tribes, each with their own distinct culture, language, and traditions. Among these were the Cherokee, Muskogee Creek, Seminole, Chickasaw, and Choctaw nations who had lived in the southeastern regions of North America for millennia. The Cherokee, in particular, had developed a sophisticated society with a written constitution, a system of government, and a thriving economy. They were skilled farmers, hunters, and traders, and their territory encompassed large swaths of present-day Georgia, Tennessee, and North Carolina. The Cherokee had also adopted many European American customs, including Christianity, and had established schools and newspapers. However, despite their efforts to assimilate, the Cherokee and other Native American tribes found themselves increasingly at odds with the expanding United States. In 1802, the state of Georgia signed a compact with the U.S. government, which promised that the federal authorities would remove all Native Americans from the state in exchange for Georgia's support in the Louisiana Purchase. This agreement marked the beginning of a long and tumultuous process, as the U.S. government sought to fulfill its obligations to the state of Georgia while also dealing with the complexities of Native American sovereignty. As the years passed, tensions between the Cherokee and the United States government continued to escalate. The discovery of gold in northern Georgia in 1829 brought a surge of white settlers into Cherokee territory, leading to conflicts over land and resources. The Cherokee, led by their principal chief, John Ross, attempted to resist the encroachment through legal means, appealing to the U.S. Supreme Court to recognize their sovereignty and protect their lands. In 1832, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the Cherokee in the landmark case Worcester v. No. 5, Georgia, declaring that the Cherokee Nation was a sovereign entity with the right to self-governance. However, President Andrew Jackson, a staunch supporter of states' rights and westward expansion, refused to enforce the court's decision, paving the way for the forced removal of the Cherokee and other Native American tribes from their ancestral lands. As the U.S. government's refusal to enforce the Supreme Court's decision emboldened the state of Georgia, the Cherokee Nation found itself increasingly isolated and vulnerable. In 1835, a small faction of Cherokee leaders, known as the Treaty Party, signed the Treaty of New Ecotah, which ceded all Cherokee land in the east to the United States in exchange for land in present-day Oklahoma. This treaty was deeply unpopular among the majority of Cherokee, who saw it as a betrayal of their sovereignty and way of life. The principal chief, John Ross, vehemently opposed the treaty, but his efforts to resist were ultimately futile. In May 1838, the U.S. Army, led by General Winfield Scott, began to forcibly remove the Cherokee from their ancestral lands. The soldiers arrived at Cherokee villages, often without warning, and ordered the inhabitants to gather their belongings and prepare for departure. Many Cherokee were given only a few hours' notice, and some were even forced to leave behind their crops, livestock, and personal possessions. The roundup of Cherokee was a chaotic and traumatic event, with families separated, homes destroyed, and communities shattered. As the Cherokee were herded into stockades and internment camps, they faced deplorable conditions, including inadequate food, shelter, and sanitation. Diseases such as cholera, dysentery, and tuberculosis spread rapidly through the crowded and unsanitary camps, claiming the lives of hundreds of Cherokee. In the summer of 1838, the U.S. Army began to march the Cherokee out of their ancestral lands, starting a journey that would become infamous as the Trail of Tears. The trail itself was a brutal and arduous route, spanning over 1,000 miles from Georgia to Oklahoma. The Cherokee were forced to march in the sweltering heat of summer, often without adequate food or water. Many were barefoot, and some were even chained together to prevent escape. The journey was marked by countless tragedies, including the deaths of children, elders, and entire families. One particularly devastating event occurred on October 30th, 1838, when a group of Cherokee being transported by boat down the Tennessee River were caught in a violent storm, resulting in the deaths of over 200 people. As the Trail of Tears progressed, it became clear that the U.S. government's promises of a safe and humane relocation were nothing more than empty words. The conditions on the trail were so horrific that even some of the U.S. soldiers tasked with overseeing the removal began to question the morality of their mission. One soldier, a young officer named John Burnett, later wrote about the experience, saying, "I saw the tears of the Cherokee women as they mourned the loss of their loved ones, and I saw the faces of the little children, gaunt and famine-stricken, as they walked along, crying for food." His words would become a haunting testament to the brutality and suffering inflicted upon the Cherokee during this dark period in American history. As the Trail of Tears progressed, the Cherokee continued to face unimaginable hardships, with thousands more dying from exposure, disease, and starvation. By the time they reached their destination in present-day Oklahoma, it's estimated that over 4,000 Cherokee had perished, nearly a quarter of their entire population. The trauma and suffering inflicted upon the Cherokee during this period would have a lasting impact on their community, with many survivors struggling to come to terms with the loss of their loved ones, their culture, and their way of life. In the years following the Trail of Tears, the Cherokee Nation struggled to rebuild and recover from the devastation they had endured. The forced relocation had not only resulted in the loss of thousands of lives, but also led to the destruction of their traditional way of life, including their homes, farms, and cultural practices. However, despite these challenges, the Cherokee people showed remarkable resilience, working tirelessly to establish new communities, rebuild their economy, and preserve their cultural heritage. One of the most significant later events related to the Trail of Tears was the establishment of the Indian Territory, which would eventually become the state of Oklahoma. The U.S. government had designated this region as a permanent home for the Cherokee and other Native American tribes, but it would ultimately prove to be a temporary solution. As the United States continued to expand its territory through the 19th century, the Indian Territory would face increasing pressure from settlers, leading to further conflicts and dispossession of Native American lands. Today, the Trail of Tears is remembered as one of the darkest chapters in American history, a brutal and regrettable episode that resulted in the forced relocation and suffering of tens of thousands of innocent people. As historian Wilma Mankiller, a Cherokee Nation politician and community developer, once said, "The Trail of Tears was not just a historical event, but a living, breathing experience that continues to affect the lives of Cherokee people today." This poignant statement highlights the ongoing legacy of the Trail of Tears, which continues to impact the lives of Native American communities across the United States. In recent years, there has been a growing effort to acknowledge and commemorate the Trail of Tears, with numerous museums, memorials, and historic sites dedicated to preserving its history. The Trail of Tears, National Historic Trail, established in 1987, spans over 4,900 miles, and passes through 9 states, serving as a poignant reminder of the suffering and resilience of the Cherokee people. The Trail of Tears serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of preserving cultural heritage, protecting human rights, and promoting social justice. It is a testament to the strength and resilience of indigenous communities, who have faced centuries of colonization, marginalization, and oppression, yet continue to thrive and flourish in the face of adversity. As we strive to build a more just and equitable society, it is essential that we learn from the lessons of the past, acknowledging the historical injustices that have shaped our present and working towards a brighter future for all. That's all for today's History with Herodotus. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, remember that, to understand the present, we must first understand the past.